Hello, Northern Virginia. This is Nova Weekend Warriors, focused on those runners, cyclists, athletes, outdoor enthusiasts, and fans of fitness in the Northern Virginia area. I'm Meg Donnelly, a licensed massage therapist in Herndon, Virginia, focused on those weekend warriors. As with every episode of Nova Weekend Warriors, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as advice, medical or otherwise. The views of our guests in each episode are solely their own and not necessarily the views of the Nova Weekend Warriors podcast or of Meg Donnelly in her capacity as a licensed massage therapist. Today we are talking fitness, friendship, and community with Reston's favorite new philanthropists, the swim team dads. Now, I want to tell a quick story. I had 2 or 3 people mention to me in the last few months that I had to meet this group. Others were telling me how the swim team dads are taking friendship and their love of fitness to invest in our community. How great is that? And then after the Lake Ann Cardboard Regatta this year, which of course the swim team dads obviously participated in, I'm sitting at Calypso's restaurant post-race and we passed this loud, fun table when I can't remember if it was Keith or Leslie who said, "That's the swim team dads." And I knew an introduction was needed because everyone had been telling me that I had to meet these swim team dads. So we met, we decided to record an episode about fitness, friendship, and community. Here we are. Now, the swim team dads motto, their mission is to leverage friendship to make a positive impact in our community through fitness, social, and volunteer activities. I obviously wanted to learn more about how they took their passion for fitness and turned it into a rewarding nonprofit. So when we met, I decided to invite a few of the Swim Team Dad founding members to come and talk today. Today we have Keith Dowling, a.k.a. K-Dot, Kevin Witt, a.k.a. K-Dub, and John Brennan, JB. Swim Team Dads, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you, Meg.
We're going to talk more detail about some of your upcoming events towards the end of our conversation, but I want to just start by mentioning the one that's coming up most recently, and that is September 6th at Glory Days Grill at North Point Village in Reston. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, Meg, this is JB. We've been going to that Glory Day since it opened a couple of years ago. During the swim season, we probably send 30 to 40 people there every Saturday. And the manager, Heecham, has been a big friend of ours, and we've got a little plaque in the restaurant that has the swim team dads on it. And we were there last night actually for fantasy football draft. So we had some jerseys, some bike jerseys printed, and Heecham was good enough to put his logo on there and support the jerseys. And we asked recently if he could support us in other ways, and he said, "How about if he did a Dining for Dollars type event, but if all the proceeds would go to the swim team dads." So we picked this Thursday. A lot of people back to school, a night out versus cooking. So he's been a big supporter of ours. We've had a couple other places in the community like the Lake Ann Brew House and the Green Lizard in Herndon that have both been also big supporters of ours. But this is a good opportunity for us to spread the word on the STDs and also have a little fun while we're doing it.
Awesome. So let's talk about the history of the Swim Team Dads. So it seems like you first started in friendship and fitness well before you became a charitable foundation. Tell me about how you all first met. Tell me about the early days. How did you meet? How did the friendship begin?
I'll take this one to start, and then I'll throw it over to JB. This is K-Dub, a.k.a. Kevin Witt, or vice versa. But so most of us, we have younger kids, obviously. We're dads. And our kids have always been involved in some type of athletic activity, whether it's been baseball, soccer, softball. And all our kids have they're this very similar ages. And also one of the glue that really holds us all together is the Reston Swim Team Association. Several of our members are actually on the board of the Reston Swim Team Association and actually, help kind of keep that organization going. Saturday mornings, hanging out around the pool with the kids, watching the events. And if you've ever been involved with the swim team, it's a family effort. Not only is it a family effort, it's a group effort and a community effort. So as we're hanging out around the pool, we're always talking little bit of hootenanny going on. And we're talking about what kind of activities are we going to do like later that day or later in the week or maybe on Sunday, always kind of planning something. And because, our kids were very active and we were active either in our past or through high school and college with athletics or some type of fitness, many of us, we realized cycled. And it was just a matter of getting us all together in a group. And back in the day, we didn't have the best bicycles necessarily, but we'd get out and we'd do things together. And cycling was easy kind of go-to. And there's running as well. And then as we look, we're fortunate enough to live in Reston where we have activities such as the Reston Sprint Triathlon. There's always some type of activity, whether it's a sprint triathlon, a Reston Century, a Century for like Tour de Cure. We would say, kind of, who wants to do the Tour de Cure? It's a 100-mile ride. Who wants to do the Reston Sprint Triathlon? And we would start, baiting each other and sign up for it. And, when you do that, you have to get in shape. You can't just roll into one of those events, without a lot of training. And that's really kind of how we got started, I think, as a group of swim team dads.
Nice. So you basically, the end goal would be these races that got you started. And then, of course, there's a huge sense of community around training for these.
Correct.
Yeah, Meg, K-Dub and I met not unbeknownst to each other about 25 years ago, but we really rekindled our relationship when we got to Reston. Like Kevin mentioned, Kevin and I rode the Tour de Cure in 2012 or 2013. And a big part of that is fundraising. And when we got to talking about it, we figured, well, instead of, we give money to the Tour de Cure, to the charities there, plus a lot of us that have jobs with larger companies, there's sort of, hey, you should all give a certain percentage to charity of your choice, and United Way or whatever it might be. Some companies even match what the employees give. So we thought about all the good work, we were involved with Bob Simon and all the, the efforts he did to make this a great place to be. And we thought about some of these events we're doing or making up our own events or having our own little challenges that would bring us an ability for us to raise money and then put that to use back in the community. And as Kevin said, it's a variety of events. It's not simply biking. We have weight loss challenges, and we have other types of events that we try to put together just amongst ourselves to then take that money and put it back into the community. But it's been a fun way for us to stay connected. And we think what we have is pretty unique. We've got probably 20 guys who are regularly involved with some type of activity. So it keeps us healthy, and it also keeps us connected to the community we're in. And we all happen to live fairly close to one another. So it makes it easier when it comes to running or riding or swimming or just meeting out for a few drinks to figure out what we want to do next.
We'll continue with those swim team dads in a moment. But before we do, I just want to take a brief break in today's episode to remind everyone about the current selection for our Weekend Warriors Need to Run book club. For September, we're reading Let Your Mind Run, a memoir of Thinking My Way to Victory by Dina Castor and Michelle Hamilton. Read along and send your comments through novaweekendwarriors.com/book club. If you want to help support the Nova Weekend Warriors podcast, you can purchase the book on the webpage or in the show notes. As an Amazon associate, I earn qualifying purchases. Purchases through these links obviously help me keep the Nova Weekend Warriors podcast going, but if you prefer not to use the affiliate links, no worries. The book is also available online and even through Fairfax County Public Library with a short wait list. And now, back to our current episode. So you had all been doing this, and it was kind of a group effort, but a little bit smaller. But then I believe there was a quote from K-Dub's wife, an insider in the swim team dad circle, that led you towards actually creating the 501c3 for you to become a true charitable organization. And that quote was, "There's so much good you guys can do while you're having fun and staying fit." So tell me a little bit about Missy. How did her quote inspire you?
Well, so my wife, Missy, we both grew up in Batavia, New York, right between Buffalo and Rochester. And her father was a camp counselor and that really worked at a camp, St. Vincent de Paul, for underprivileged kids. And I think a lot of her background was just kind of always, what can you do to help? What can you do to help? Not necessarily the community, but kind of everybody as a whole. So when we were starting our little group, I think, JB and I did the Tour de Cure, and we looked at other events that we could do that would raise, some money. Missy kind of mentioned that to us, that, you guys are always doing something together. You spend a lot of time together. If you put that effort and that energy to good use, you think about what you could do. And we really took that to heart. And that's where we really started to look at what can we do. Many of us are already involved in the Core Foundation. My wife's involved in the Core Foundation and does the green bags. And I think, part of living in Reston, because it's such a diverse area, not only economically, but also, just by population, it's always good to see everybody kind of doing what they can to benefit the overall community. And when we were talking about that, and she came up with that phrase or quote, we really thought about it and said, okay, we can do this, and we can really do this with the number of guys we have in our group as the STDs, and really kind of start promoting ourselves, which in turn is going to promote what we actually are, what we're trying to accomplish, which is help and benefit the community.
Yeah, Meg, the Core Foundations was a big part of this. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do it without Doug and his team. I mean, they make it very easy to put together a foundation. And he had said to us, there's a lot of people that come to him that want to do something and want to, make an impact or give back. It's those first sort of few months to try to find a way and get an event in place. And we would not have the site or the momentum without Doug's leadership, and he's got a great team there. But they've really helped us make this easier to put together. I mean, we had some big ideas and we're getting there, but Doug and the website and just word of mouth right now has really been helping us. But as Kevin said, it took someone to sort of hit us in the head with a 2x4. And Missy was that person that said, well, why are you doing all this if you can't really, if someone else can benefit from it, why don't you guys put your heads together? And that's how we got to where we are today.
That's awesome. So let's backtrack for a minute, because you talked about Core Foundation and you've partnered with them. Can you just, for those that don't know Doug and don't know about the Core Foundation, can you tell me a little bit more about it, about its mission and how that fits in with Swim Team Dad?
Yeah, I'll take that. He provides sort of the structure and the bandwidth for people that want to set up their own nonprofits. So he's got a staff that has helped many of our friends actually set up their own nonprofits. We've got one of the Swim Team Dad's wives, Dave Cohn's wife's got one, and Doug's passionate about what he does. And, he was Mr. Reston in 2011, but he provides sort of the vehicle and the structure and the support to set up your own foundation. And also he does guide us through the rules and regulations around setting it up. And he's got some support staff that have helped with the website, but it's really, it's sort of an incubator per se for people who want to put together nonprofits or charitable organizations. And just so happens, he lives in the neighborhood, his kids swim, and, he was one of the first people we turned to when we, after Missy's statement, we said, Doug, how can we do this? And he, it was as easy as you can imagine. It was very straightforward, and he's got it down pat now with the team, and they've been doing it for quite a while, but there's dozens of other groups that have taken advantage of what he does.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a wonderful thing too, right? Because with Core Foundation at the base, you guys know that it is set up the right way so that you can get the money in the hands of the community in a very strategic way, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So how do you determine the causes you're backing? How are you raising money for those?
Roll the dice. It's really, I guess you could probably say it is a little bit of rolling the dice, but again, with the Core Foundation and obviously living in Reston, we have Cornerstone. So that's a big piece of, I think, what we will probably end up donating to. But all of us have something I think that we all kind of want to donate to. We've talked about setting up a small scholarship fund for graduating seniors from the swim team in Reston as well. So we have a lot of ideas that we've talked about. But really kind of our goal is to focus on what can we do, what can we do with the money that we've raised, and if we decide collectively it's a good cause to donate to, we will do that. JB, you could probably add a little bit more.